Most people believe that speaking well is a talent reserved for a chosen few, but the truth is, clear communication is not a gift, it is a discipline. Every great leader, every respected teacher, every unforgettable voice had to learn one simple skill, the ability to turn thoughts into words with precision. When you can express yourself clearly, you stand out in any room, you command attention without raising your voice, you win respect without demanding it. And more importantly, you influence not by force but by clarity. If you can learn to articulate your thoughts better than 99% of people, opportunities will seek you, connections will deepen, and your message will live long after the conversation ends. Clarity of speech begins with clarity of thought. The words you choose, the tone you use, and the way your sentences flow are not separate from the mind that produces them. They are the reflection of what is happening inside you. If your mind is chaotic, filled with scattered emotions and tangled ideas, then your speech will stumble. But when your thoughts are sharp, calm and ordered, your words follow that same path, flowing with ease and precision. This is why the path to articulate speech is not found in memorizing vocabulary or practicing eloquent phrases. It begins within by mastering your thoughts. When a person's mind is restless, their speech often betrays them. They repeat themselves unnecessarily, they search for words mid-sentence, or they speak in circles. This is because their inner world has not been structured. Imagine trying to pour water from a cracked vessel, it will always leak. In the same way, when you attempt to speak without first creating clarity in your mind, your words will leak meaning and your message will lose impact. To become someone who speaks clearly, you must cultivate a mind that is disciplined enough to think with order and focus. Clarity of thought requires stillness. Most people move through life, consumed by noise, constant distractions, endless opinions, and overwhelming emotions. In this noise, they never pause to truly understand what they think or why they think it. As a result, when they are asked to express themselves, they simply repeat borrowed ideas, half-formed opinions, or vague feelings. The difference between someone who speaks clearly and someone who doesn't is that the clear communicator has taken the time to slow down, to reflect, to understand their own reasoning before trying to share it. A pause before speaking is not weakness, it is wisdom. When you pause and allow yourself to think before you respond, you filter out the unnecessary. You ask yourself, what is the essence of what I want to say? What matters most here? What do I want the other person to understand and remember? These questions strip away filler, leaving only what is essential. This is why those who articulate themselves clearly are often remembered long after the conversation ends. Their words are not many, but they are precise, and precision creates power. Another part of clarity of thought is learning to detach from emotional turbulence. When anger, frustration, or fear controls you, your speech reflects it. Harsh words are spoken in anger, unclear words in fear, rushed words in anxiety. But when the mind is calm, even difficult truths can be expressed with grace. To articulate clearly, you must train yourself to step back from raw emotion and allow reason to guide you. This does not mean silencing your feelings, but rather mastering them, so they serve your communication instead of sabotaging it. Clarity of thought also means focusing on simplicity. The greatest thinkers in history have said that if you cannot explain something simply, you do not truly understand it. This principle applies to speech as well. Many people hide their lack of understanding behind complicated words or jargon, but this only distances them from their listeners. A clear mind finds the simplest possible way to explain even the most complex idea, making it accessible to all. And when your listeners understand you easily, they not only admire your intellect, but also trust your message. This kind of clarity does not come overnight. It is built through practice, through deliberate effort to think deeply, reflect regularly, and speak mindfully. Reading widely, reflecting on your own experiences, and even writing down your thoughts can sharpen your mental clarity. When you discipline your mind to organize its ideas, your speech will naturally follow that order. Every time you practice this, you strengthen the connection between clear thought and clear expression. There is also a powerful connection between listening and clarity of thought. Many people believe articulation is only about speaking well, but it begins with listening well. If you cannot listen, you cannot understand. If you do not understand, your thoughts will remain shallow. When you listen deeply to others, to yourself, to silence, you expand your perspective. This depth of understanding allows you to form thoughts that are not only clear but also meaningful. And when meaning flows through your thoughts, your speech carries weight that others feel. In the end, clarity of speech is a mirror. It reflects the state of your inner world. If your mind is restless, so will be your words. If your thoughts are confused, so will be your message. But if your mind is calm, focused, and intentional, your words will shine with clarity, and people will listen, not because they have to, but because they want to. To speak more clearly than 99% of people, you do not need tricks or rehearsed lines. You need a disciplined mind, a calm heart, and the courage to simplify. When you cultivate clarity within, your speech becomes not just communication, but a bridge, connecting your mind to the minds of others with strength, precision, and impact. Simplicity creates deeper impact than complexity. When most people speak, they believe that adding more words, more detail, and more sophistication will make them sound impressive. They decorate their language, stack complicated terms, and often drown their message in noise. But the truth is, when you overwhelm others with complexity, you lose them. Your words may sound grand, but if they are not understood, they serve no purpose. Real power in communication comes not from saying more, but from saying less, with precision. Simplicity is not a lack of depth. It is the ultimate form of mastery. Think about the most powerful teachings humanity has ever known. They are rarely complicated. Short phrases, simple parables, and clear truths carry more influence than endless explanations. Why? Because the human mind craves clarity. It is drawn to what it can grasp, remember, and apply. A message that is simple can travel from person to person without losing meaning. A message that is complex, however, often dies in the mind of the listener because it cannot be carried forward. Simplicity is a discipline. It requires you to cut away what is unnecessary. Most people do not realize that speaking with complexity is easy. Anyone can pile words on top of words, but simplifying requires deep understanding. If you can take a complicated idea and express it in a way that even a child can understand, it means you have mastered that idea. This is why simplicity carries so much respect. People admire those who can explain difficult truths without confusion. They see them not only as clear thinkers but as trustworthy guides. The mistake many make is equating simplicity with weakness or lack of knowledge. They think, if I use simple words, people will not respect me. The opposite is true. Simplicity demonstrates confidence. It shows that you are not hiding behind jargon or complicated language. It proves that you know your subject so well that you can strip it down to its essence without losing meaning. Complexity, on the other hand, often reveals insecurity, a desperate attempt to sound intelligent rather than to be understood. When you choose simplicity, you give the gift of understanding to your listener. You allow them to connect to your message without struggle. And when they understand you, they trust you, they remember you. They are more likely to act upon what you have said. Communication is not about showing off what you know. It is about transferring what you know into the mind of another person in the clearest way possible. Only simplicity can achieve this consistently. Consider great speeches that have changed history. They are not remembered for complex structures or heavy vocabulary. They are remembered because their words cut straight into the human heart. Simple phrases have moved nations, built movements, and transformed lives. They endure because simplicity allows them to be repeated, shared, and remembered across generations. A complex sentence may impress for a moment, but a simple sentence lives forever. To master simplicity, you must be willing to slow down and refine. Before you speak, ask yourself, what is the core message here? What is the one thing I want them to walk away with? This practice forces you to remove unnecessary layers and get to the heart of your idea. You do not need 5 examples when one clear story will do. You do not need a dozen words when 3 sharp ones carry the same force. Brevity is not emptiness, it is concentration. Simplicity also creates impact because it respects the time and energy of others. In a world full of distractions, attention is precious. People do not have the patience for long-winded explanations that lead nowhere. But when you are able to express yourself clearly and simply, you earn their attention and hold it. You show that you value them enough not to waste their focus. That respect translates into influence. On a deeper level, simplicity connects with emotion. Complex words may stimulate the mind, but simple words touch the heart. The heart responds to clarity, to directness, to messages that bypass unnecessary barriers. When you strip your message of complexity, what remains is pure truth, and truth resonates in ways that complexity never can. Practicing simplicity is a journey. It requires humility to let go of the desire to sound impressive and embrace the desire to be impactful. It requires discipline to edit yourself, to cut away excess, and to focus on the essence. And it requires courage to trust that your message, in its simplest form, is powerful enough to stand on its own. Simplicity does not mean you ignore depth or avoid complexity altogether. It means you dig so deeply into your own understanding that you can pull out the core and present it in a way that shines. The foundation of your message may be complex, but the expression must be clear. Just as a sculptor chisels away stone to reveal beauty, so must you chisel away excess words to reveal truth. When you master simplicity, your words become light in a world filled with confusion. You will notice that people lean closer when you speak, not because your words are many, but because your message is clear. You will notice that others repeat your words long after the conversation ends, not because you impress them, but because you touch them. And in the end, that is the true purpose of communication: to reach people, to move them, and to leave them changed. Simplicity creates deeper impact than complexity because it is the purest form of truth. It makes your message accessible, memorable, and powerful. It cuts through the noise and delivers meaning directly to the listener. And when you choose simplicity, you choose influence, not just for a moment, but for a lifetime. Structured communication makes ideas memorable. When you speak without structure, your words may come out, but they scatter like sand in the wind. People may hear them, but they cannot hold on to them. They may nod politely, but the message slips away almost instantly. But when you arrange your words with order, when you give your ideas a path to follow, they become like stepping stones across a river, each one leading smoothly to the next, until the listener arrives safely at the conclusion you wanted them to reach. Structure is what transforms scattered thoughts into a message that sticks. The human brain craves order. It is wired to recognize patterns, to remember sequences, and to follow a clear beginning, middle, and end. Without this order, information becomes overwhelming, like a puzzle with missing pieces. Listeners may catch fragments of your message, but they will not retain it in full. When you communicate with structure, however, you are not just sharing information, you are building a pathway inside the listener's mind. They can walk it step by step, and because it flows logically, it stays with them long after you finish speaking. Think of a story. Every powerful story has structure. It begins by setting the scene, introducing a problem, building tension, and finally offering resolution. Without this structure, a story would not make sense. In the same way, when you speak, your ideas must be organized so they can be received as a complete experience. Whether you are explaining a concept, inspiring others, or teaching a lesson, structure makes your words digestible, memorable, and impactful. Most people fail to structure their communication because they simply speak as thoughts appear in their mind. They allow their words to flow without direction, believing that spontaneity equals authenticity. But raw spontaneity often produces confusion. Authenticity comes not from saying whatever enters your head, but from shaping your thoughts in a way that others can follow. Structure does not limit you. It liberates your listener from confusion. It gives them the clarity they need to walk with you. There are many ways to build structure in communication, but the simplest is the timeless three-part flow: introduction, body, and conclusion. In the introduction, you capture attention and give context. In the body, you present your main points in a logical order, each flowing naturally into the next. In the conclusion, you tie everything together, leaving the listener with a clear takeaway. This framework works because it mirrors how the mind processes information. It prepares, delivers, and reinforces the message, ensuring it remains in memory. But structure does not have to be rigid. It can also take the form of storytelling, where each part of the story carries meaning. It can be built through examples, where each example builds upon the last. It can be shaped through contrast, showing before and after, problem and solution, mistake and lesson. The key is not to overwhelm the listener with endless, unconnected points. The key is to give them a path, a sequence, a rhythm that allows them to stay with you. Structured communication also respects the listener's mind. People today are flooded with information. Their attention is constantly divided. When you speak without structure, you force them to do the heavy lifting of organizing your words in their own minds, and most will simply give up. But when you provide structure, You reduce their effort. You hand them the message in a form they can easily absorb and remember. That gift of clarity makes them value not just your words but you as a communicator. Memorable communication is not about complexity or brilliance, it is about clarity and flow. A person may not remember every detail of what you said, but they will remember the way your words were organized. They will remember the sequence of ideas, the rhythm of your message, and the way you carried them from one thought to the next. Structure creates an invisible map in their memory, and when they recall your words later, they can retrace the steps with ease. To cultivate structure in your own speech, practice summarizing your thoughts before you express them. Ask yourself, what is the main point I want to share? What are the supporting ideas that build toward it? How can I conclude in a way that reinforces it? This mental practice shapes your communication before it leaves your lips. Over time, it becomes natural. You will find yourself speaking in patterns, guiding listeners effortlessly, and leaving them with messages they can recall and repeat. When structure becomes part of your communication, you begin to stand out. Others may talk endlessly, but their words vanish like smoke. Your words, however, remain. People may not remember exactly how you phrased them, but they will remember the journey you took them on. They will remember the order, the flow, and the impact. That is why structured communication is not only powerful, it is rare. In the end, what makes ideas memorable is not just the ideas themselves, but the way they are delivered. Structure is the container that holds the message. Without it, your words may be forgotten. The moment they are heard, with it, your message can live in the minds of others for years to come. Speak with structure, and you will find that your ideas are not just heard, but carried forward, repeated and remembered. That is the true measure of powerful communication. Presence and calm tone enhance authority. When you enter a room, people begin to listen to you long before you open your mouth. Your posture, your energy, the way you carry yourself, these things speak louder than words. Then, when you finally do speak, the tone of your voice determines whether people lean in with respect or tune out with indifference. Authority is not about raising your voice, not about being the loudest person in the room. True authority is the ability to command attention without demanding it, and that comes from presence and calmness. Presence is the invisible force that makes people notice you. It is the sense that you are fully here, fully grounded, fully confident in yourself. Many people speak but are half absent, distracted, nervous, or disconnected from the moment. Their words may be fine, but because their presence is weak, their message loses power. Presence begins with awareness. It is about slowing down, grounding yourself, and becoming conscious of your body and your breath. When you are rooted in the moment, others feel it. They sense stability in you, and that stability commands respect. Calmness amplifies that respect. In a world where most people rush through their words, stumble over their sentences, or speak too quickly out of nervousness, calm speech stands out. A calm tone carries weight. It tells the listener that you are in control, not only of your voice but also of your emotions and your thoughts. People trust those who are calm because calmness signals mastery. If you cannot remain calm while you speak, others assume you are unsure of yourself. But when your tone is steady, even a few words can feel like unshakable truth. Think about leaders who inspire you. Rarely do they shout or rush. Instead, they pause, they breathe, they let silence fill the room, and then they speak with measured rhythm. Every word seems deliberate. They do not try to compete with noise. They create silence around their words. This calm tone does more than convey authority. It allows the listener to digest the meaning behind the words. Authority is not about overpowering the listener. It is about guiding them gently but firmly toward understanding. Presence also has a physical dimension. The way you stand or sit, the steadiness of your gaze, the openness of your body language, all of these shape how others perceive your authority. A person who slouches, avoids eye contact, or fidgets unconsciously weakens their own message, no matter how intelligent it may be. But a person who stands tall, breathes deeply, and holds themselves with calm confidence communicates power before even speaking a word. Presence is nonverbal communication at its highest level. The calm tone and presence go hand in hand. Presence without calmness can feel tense or intimidating. Calmness without presence can feel weak or unconvincing. But together, they create the perfect balance, commanding yet approachable, firm yet respectful. When you embody both, people not only hear you but feel you. They trust that you mean what you say because your entire being aligns with your message. It is important to realize that calmness is not the absence of emotion, it is the mastery of emotion. Anyone can become loud when angry, rushed when anxious, or scattered when nervous. But the person who stays calm in the storm shows true authority. Others instinctively follow them because they radiate stability. In conversation, a calm voice is like an anchor. It steadies the listener, assures them, and creates space for real connection. The pace of your speech also plays a role. Rushed words signal insecurity or fear of being interrupted. Calm, measured words signal confidence that what you are saying is worth hearing. A pause between sentences is not weakness. It is power. It shows that you are not desperate to fill silence, that you trust your words enough to let them breathe. Listeners do not remember how fast you spoke. They remember how clearly your message reached them. Calmness gives that clarity. A developing presence and a calm tone requires practice. It begins with self-awareness. Pay attention to your breathing, to the speed of your words, to the way your body feels when you speak. Most people do not realize how much tension they carry in their voices. By slowing down, relaxing your body, and practicing stillness, you naturally project more authority. Meditation, mindful breathing, and conscious pauses in conversation are tools that strengthen your calmness and presence over time. When you master presence and tone, you notice something powerful. People start giving you space. They wait for your words. They listen with greater focus. You no longer have to fight for attention, because attention naturally comes to you. Authority then becomes effortless. It is not something you chase or force. It is something you embody, and when you embody it, people follow, not out of fear, but out of respect. In the end, authority is not a performance. It is not about pretending to be confident or acting superior. It is about being so calm, so present, and so aligned with your message that people cannot help but pay attention. Your tone becomes the vessel of your authority, and your presence becomes the foundation. Together, they elevate your words from mere sounds to living messages that influence hearts and minds. When presence and calm tone guide your communication, you no longer just speak, you lead. Precision is more powerful than excess words. Most people believe that saying more will make them sound more convincing, but in reality, the more you pile on words, the more your message becomes diluted. Excess words are like fog. They cloud the meaning, hide the point, and make it harder for the listener to see where you are leading them. Precision, on the other hand, is like a blade. It cuts through distraction, goes straight to the heart of the matter, and leaves an impression that is sharp and unforgettable. When you speak with too many words, your audience tires quickly. Their mind wanders, and they begin to search for the essence of your message. They are left with fragments instead of a clear takeaway. But when you choose your words with care, each one becomes valuable. Each one carries weight. This is why the greatest communicators throughout history are remembered for short, precise statements, not long, drawn-out speeches. The fewer the words, the greater the impact. If those words are chosen well. Precision requires discipline. It is easy to talk endlessly. It is harder to pause, to think, and to refine your thoughts before speaking. People often fill silence with unnecessary words out of fear. Fear of not being heard. Fear of not sounding intelligent, or fear of leaving something out. But when you learn to trust the power of precision, you realize that silence can be just as powerful as speech. A pause can amplify meaning more than 10 filler words ever could. Excess words often come from a lack of clarity. When someone has not fully formed their thought, they attempt to explain it in multiple ways, repeating themselves, circling around the same point. But this repetition does not strengthen the message, it weakens it. The listener grows impatient, and the original point loses its sharpness. Precision, however, comes from clarity of thought. When you know exactly what you mean, you can say it in fewer words, and it will land with greater force. Consider how the mind works. The brain remembers short, focused statements far more easily than long explanations. A single precise phrase can live in memory for years. It becomes a quote, a principle, a guiding truth. But a speech full of excess words is quickly forgotten because it overwhelms the listener's memory. Precision ensures that your message is not only heard but also remembered. Precision also builds authority. When you speak with exactness, you signal mastery. You show that you do not need to hide behind unnecessary language. People recognize that you have distilled your thoughts to their essence, and that gives them confidence in your words. On the other hand, excess words often reveal insecurity. They suggest you are unsure of your point or trying too hard to impress. Precision communicates confidence, confidence that your message is strong enough to stand without padding. It is also important to recognize that precision does not mean coldness or lack of expression. Precision can still be warm, emotional, and inspiring. It is not about stripping language of beauty but about using beauty with purpose. Even a story, when told with precision, becomes more powerful. Each detail supports the message instead of distracting from it. Every sentence moves the listener forward instead of dragging them in circles. Precision is the art of aligning every word with the purpose of your message. To practice precision, you must train yourself to ask, is this word necessary? Does it serve the point? Or is it only filling space? Learning to edit your own speech and writing is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. Over time, you will find that your communication becomes leaner, sharper, and more impactful. You will no longer feel the need to say everything at once because you will trust that your precise words are enough. Think of an archer. The goal is not to shoot as many arrows as possible in the hope that one hits the target. The goal is to release a single arrow with precision so it strikes the center. Words work the same way. 100 arrows scattered will not impress anyone, but one arrow that lands exactly where it is meant to will be remembered. That is the difference between excess and precision. Another powerful effect of precision is respect for the listener. When you remove unnecessary words, you value their time and attention. You do not force them to sift through clutter to find meaning. Instead, you deliver meaning directly, respecting their energy. This respect builds trust. People will come to see you as someone who speaks with intention, someone worth listening to, because they know your words will not waste their time. In the end, precision is not just about speaking less, it is about speaking with purpose. Every word you choose either strengthens your message or weakens it. Every sentence either sharpens or blurs your point. Precision ensures that nothing is wasted, that everything you say serves your intention. Excess words may fill silence, but they cannot fill minds. Precision, however, plants ideas that grow and remain. When you learn to master precision, your words will carry more power than entire speeches filled with noise. People will remember you, not for how much you said, but for how effectively you said it. They will walk away with clarity instead of confusion, with inspiration instead of fatigue. That is the true mark of powerful communication. Not the volume of words, but the precision of meaning. The ability to articulate your thoughts clearly is not a skill reserved for a chosen few. It is something anyone can cultivate with awareness and discipline. Clarity begins in the mind, because when your thoughts are ordered, your words follow with strength. Simplicity then gives your ideas wings, allowing them to reach others without confusion and remain in their memory. Structure ensures that your message is not scattered, but built like a path that carries your listeners step by step toward understanding. Presence and calm tone give your words authority, so that people not only hear you but feel you, and precision transforms your communication into something sharp and unforgettable, cutting away the unnecessary and leaving only truth. When you combine these qualities, you rise above the noise of the world. You no longer compete for attention, you earn it naturally. You no longer struggle to be remembered, your words linger because they are clear, simple, structured, calm, and precise. This is what separates those who are merely heard from those who are understood. It is what allows ordinary voices to carry extraordinary influence. If you commit yourself to mastering the discipline of clear articulation, you will find that doors open where they were once closed, respect is given where it was once withheld, and your words create impact where before they created confusion. In a world overflowing with noise, be the voice that brings clarity. In a world full of excess, be the one who speaks with precision. Do this, and you will articulate your thoughts more clearly than 99% of people, not because you speak more, but because you speak with purpose.